When I recently mentioned about needing a new daily car to replace the Abarth, lots of you messaged me asking if I thought about Onto. So they're an all-inclusive monthly electric car subscription service. And truth be told, I had thought about Onto about a year ago. They're spoken really highly of, their prices are competitive. However, when I checked that year ago, the free charging locations were limited in my area, and without a home charger, I didn't think to check again. Well, it just so happens that Onto have reached out to me and asked if I'd like to try their services for 1 month. And then when I jumped on the website and rechecked where their free charging stations were, they've recently added more locations via their network, meaning that a free charge is now just 2 minutes from my house. Result. So I jumped straight onto the Onto website, I filled out my details and I picked out a car. Yeah, it really was that easy, and in fact, the hardest part of all was picking a colour. So, without further ado, introducing my new Fiat 500 electric. Isn't it just the cutest? So today's video is in fact a double whammy. It will both be a review of my experience so far with Onto and the 2022 Fiat 500 electric. So, let's get into it. I've never really been a Fiat 500 girly, but as you guys know, I spent just over a year with its beefier brother, the Abarth. And it's surprising just how much these quirky, charming little cars actually grow on you. The Fiat 500 that we all know, and some not so love, has been reborn into an EV, while still keeping all of that quirky styling, and most importantly, its wonderful, and now actually ever more unique, compact size. Rather than adding a bunch of fiddly details around the exterior, they've kept it simple. It's got a nice classic design, and I really love these little split headlamps that almost look like little eyebrows. It looks like the Fiat 500 is smirking at you, as if to say, you think you might know me, but you definitely don't. So as I mentioned, free charging is a big benefit of Onto, but that's not the only benefit. The electric car subscription service gives you the opportunity to test out ownership of electric cars from as little as 1 month. And on top of this flexibility and free charging at some networks, you also get free insurance thrown in. You get servicing as well as the usual warranty that you get on a new car. The electric Fiat 500 is one of the cheaper to buy than many of its key rivals, including the Honda E and the Mini Electric. It starts from just a touch over £30,000, but if you don't have the cash, or if you want to drive the car but don't want to be tied into long-term contracts, then the Fiat 500e is one of Onto's top-selling cars. It costs £489 a month, which at first glance can seem pricey, but once you start to break it down, there's no commitment. You've got the charging included, the maintenance and servicing included, and you've also got the insurance thrown in as well. Then the price seems to make a lot more financial sense. My experience so far with Onto has been completely hassle-free, and if you did want to check out their range of electric cars for yourself, then you can click the link down below. When the Fiat 500 electric was originally launched, there was actually the option to choose between 2 different batteries. There was a smaller 23.7 kilowatt-hour battery, which gave you 115 miles, and then a larger 42 kilowatt-hour battery with 199 miles. The larger battery model is now the only one available, I assume due to demand, and that's actually the one that I'm going to be testing from Onto. But let's talk about what everybody wants to know, and that's the real world range, not the manufacturers. And actually this is where I really like Onto, because rather than display this car as having 199 miles on their website, they actually display it as having 150, because this is a much more achievable range. However, due to this unusually warm weather we're having in November, I'm seeing more like 160 to 170 miles. The quickest way to charge the battery in the new Fiat 500 electric is using an 85 kilowatt public fast charger. These can top it up from empty to 80% in just 35 minutes. or add a useful 30 miles of charge in just 5 minutes. What's awesome about Onto is if you don't have home charging like me, then they actually offer free charging at selected points. So even if you do have a home charger, it's also handy for topping up on the go. And also, with the increase in public charging prices, it can help save a ton. So some public chargers like this are up to 79p per kilowatt. So this top up just saved me £20. The 500e is a city car, so you can't expect to fit 3 people in the back and a dog in the boot. Well, unless it was a very small dog. But despite that, you still get 185 litres of boot space, which is more than you'll find in the Honda E. I've managed to fit 2 small suitcases side by side, and there's still storage for this, which is your Type 2 cable. This comes as standard with Onto, and you get a nice little storage bag as well. Plus, underneath the boot floor, there's just enough space to put your 3-pin charger. So from the outside, other than some quirky electric details like the headlamps and also the grille along the bottom, it looks pretty much like a Fiat 500 and it's reasonably unchanged. However, it's a completely different story when we go to the interior of the car. Now, inside the interior of the Fiat 500 electric, it feels very fresh, very modern, and it also feels very spacious. Because this is an electric car, it benefits from not having a transmission tunnel. So that means you've got loads of space between you and the driver, as well as some storage down the centre console and somewhere to pop your mobile phone under the infotainment system. You've now got a 2-screen setup, a new digital instrument cluster, which can even display the map in full. And you've also got this 10.25-inch colour touchscreen, which is really easy to use. This is loads better than the previous generation screen, which even suffered when it was too sunny and you'd get glare, whereas this is completely different. You also get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it's wireless. Plus, lots of people will be happy to hear you've got some physical climate control dials, which are just displayed under the screen. As well as just below it, you've got some physical buttons for choosing your different gears. Again, I really like this because if it's your first time in an electric car or even your first time in an automatic car, it's really easy to get used to those controls. And that wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto isn't the only thing that you get standard. You also get cruise control, automatic lights, automatic wipers, and you get keyless start. I really like these seats as well. I like the bronze piping that you've got down them and that bronze Fiat 500. Plus they feel really high quality. They're nice and bolstered and you can tell they're going to last. There are 3 different driving modes to choose from: normal, range, and something called Sherpa. So range mode uses the motor to recharge the batteries. So as you lift off of the accelerator, it gently brakes the car, putting energy back into the battery. But if you go into normal mode, it actually turns this regenerative braking down, which a lot of people find a little bit off-putting. The Sherpa function is actually Fiat 500's top energy saving function, and what this does is it limits the top speed to 50 miles per hour, down from 93 miles per hour, and it turns off consumables like the air conditioning. These extreme measures are helpful if you're running low on battery and you need to get to the next charging point. But when it's not limited to 50 miles per hour, how quickly can it get from 0 to 62? Well, the 115 brake horsepower electric motor has the oomph to accelerate this little Fiat 500 from 0 to 62 in 9 seconds. That doesn't sound particularly fast, but this is ultimately a city car, and that means that its 0 to 30 time feels really quite rapid. It's only 3 seconds. It's really nippy, and actually that 0 to 30 time is much faster than most petrol urban cars. It continues to shine on tight urban roads with its compact size and its great turning circle. Actually, on the Fiat 500 petrol models, you get something called the city steering mode, and this lightens up the steering and it just makes it a little bit easier to manoeuvre around town. Now the steering on the Fiat 500 electric is a little firmer, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it makes it feel a lot more engaging. But as you can see, despite the fact it doesn't have city steering, it's still an absolute doddle to park and manoeuvre. Easy peasy. I'm just at the start of my journey with the Fiat 500 electric, and I'd love to review it again when I've covered a few more miles. So ask me any of your questions about the Fiat 500 electric or Onto down below. I really hope you've enjoyed this video today, guys. If you have, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you wanted to see more videos from me on this channel, Auto Social UK, then hit that subscribe button. Until next time, see you later.